Hey guys, this is Jim from the Pain PT, and I want to talk to you guys today about something I find really interesting and I sort of stumbled upon and thought about, and it makes sense both physiologically, neurologically, and also ties in with what Dr. Sarno talked about with TMS. And what we're going to talk about today is how to look at and work with what we call the fight, flight, or freeze response or reaction from your nervous system. And what is the best approach to take to heal, okay, to overcome chronic pain and overcome other chronic health issues. So if we think about this biologically with animals and stuff, in terms of the responses or reactions we get in our nervous system, where we talk about fight, flight, or freeze, when I think about it, I go, what would be out of those three, what would be the first thing you would want to do if you're under a threat or danger, if you could do it, if you're an animal? Well, the first thing that animals would probably do is try to fight. They try to survive by fighting or getting, standing up or confronting what's going on. Okay, so that comes from what? Anger. Anger causes a fight response. So that would be the first thing that an animal would do if they felt powerful enough or strong enough to overcome the predator, is they would fight it off, okay, and win that battle. Now, if they felt like the animal felt like it couldn't fight off the predator, I mean, they sized it up and this thing looked like too strong or menacing or big. Well, the second response that would make sense is that they would enact the flight response. Okay, they would flee, they would run away, they would try to run as fast as they could in the other direction. Now, that comes from what emotion? Fear. Okay, so if we can't fight off a predator, we're going to try to run away. That's the flight response based on fear. So animal will start to take off, right? To avoid, to get out of there. Okay, now if we can't run away, let's say we're trying to run away from a cheetah, it's chasing us down, or a lion, and we realize, man, we're too slow. We're not going to get away from this cheetah. It's too fast. Then the last response we'll do, the last one we want to do is we'll freeze up. Okay, we'll become frozen. An animal will play dead. Okay, it'll lie there still as if it's dead to try to survive. Okay, so these are survival reactions or responses we have built into us. And there's sort of a hierarchy there, if you think about it this way, with fight, flight, and freeze, that the last thing you want to do is freeze up. That's your final thing for survival, okay? But it's, if you think about it, it's the one we don't really want. We don't want to be frozen. Okay, we only do that in extreme cases. People go into shock. Sometimes that's when they become frozen or dissociate. They become frozen or freeze up. That's a defense mechanism. Now, what I want you guys to understand is we want to start moving up this gradient, okay, from frozen, if you're in a frozen state or you freeze up, okay, we want to move past that. And a lot of people are in the next one, which is the flight stage. They're in fear, constant fear. They're avoiding things. That's called fear avoidance. Okay, that's a flight response. You're running away from, you're avoiding, you're not tackling something. Okay, so we don't want to stay in a flight response in fear, because fear as an emotion makes us feel weak, right? We don't have enough power. We don't feel powerful that we can overcome something. So we feel scared, anxious, and afraid. So we're going to run. We're going to run the other direction to get away. But as we know, and as you guys know now from the science, the research, and just practically, is that fear avoidance doesn't work. It makes the situation worse. We never get better, okay, when we're avoiding something. Now, let's go to the next one, which is fight. Okay, so if we're not going to run away anymore out of fear, we're going to fight. Okay, now that's anger. Now, here's where it's very interesting. It is better for you to fight than to flee. Physiologically, this has been shown in studies. This is quite interesting when you tie this all together. Studies show physiologically that when you're in anger, at least, you have more control, more power, okay? you're releasing cortisol. Okay, when you're in fear, you're releasing these pro-inflammatory cytokines. They're called interleukin 6 and these other things that are different. So each emotion is eliciting different chemicals in your body to create different responses. Now, we know a lot of people, like with fibromyalgia and other chronic pain studies, there's been shown to be low cortisol. There's low cortisol, okay? So when you're moving to anger versus fear, you're activating the fight response. You want to fight this off. You want to fend for yourself. Now, by itself, you can't fight off this chronic pain, or you can't fight off your chronic illness in this way. I don't want you to attack yourself, okay? That's destructive anger. What we're talking about here is constructive anger. This is where we can channel the anger into a positive energy for change. And what this means is you're channeling this anger into a empowerment. I want you guys to become more empowered and feel more powerful and strong. Okay, so the way I see it is I see you want to move from freeze to flight to fight. And that's not the end of the line. You want to move past anger. We don't want a destructive anger. We want to move to face. Okay, that's the final F. We want to go from frozen to fleeing to fighting to facing what you're dealing with. You want to stand up. This is about standing up and setting what I call boundaries, okay? Not only to the pain, to the illness, but to boundaries to people in your life, the situations, the things that are injustices, that are not healthy, things that you need to change. So this means that we're people-pleasing less. We're setting boundaries to people. We're not putting up with destructive or unhealthy behaviors. We're setting boundaries to the pain. No pain. You're not going to control me. I'm not going to run away from this anymore. I'm not going to avoid things. I'm going to start doing things, and I can do it. So when you start to take anger constructively and you move up this scale like I'm talking about, the nervous system, and you start to face what you're dealing with, this means you're facing your feelings, that you can face any emotion that comes in and you can handle it. You can face pain when it comes on and continue to move forward and say, no, you're not going to control me anymore. I'm moving forward. I know this chronic pain or chronic illness is not structural. There's no damage. There's nothing wrong. Brain, you're overreacting. Settle down, calm down, relax, stop it. Okay, now Dr. Sarno, this plays into Dr. Sarno now perfectly. Dr. Sarno said, look, talk to your brain with conviction. Tell it you won't take it anymore. Don't be intimidated by your pain. Okay, those are 2 of his 6 do's and don'ts from the Healing Back Pain book. Don't be intimidated by your pain. Talk to your brain. Tell it you won't take it anymore. And the final one of that, he says, what does he say? He says, don't think of yourself as being injured. Okay, those are all things that are coming from this empowerment. Now, what's so fascinating to me, because I study the research and I really want to back up what Dr. Sarno did with real research, is that the studies I'm finding are showing that this empowerment, this loss of power, okay, makes us weak. We're not able to stand up. Now, that comes from your prefrontal cortex. The studies show that we're overpowered or overwhelmed by the amygdala, the limbic part of your brain that creates this stuff. Okay, it's called an amygdala hijack. We're hijacked. We're flooded with stuff emotionally. It's coming in over here, and we're not able to set a wall that is this infiltrates us. We're not able to have a response. Okay, so the power you have to face this is your response. What are you telling this amygdala and limbic brain? Are you running the other direction? Are you agreeing with it? Are you scared, catastrophizing, worrying? All you're doing is amplifying that. We want you to not run away and have a fear response. I want you to have a facing response, which comes from constructive anger, to say, no, I'm fed up with this. No more. Stop it. Knock it off. Okay? The other person who talked about this was Viktor Frankl. And I have him as a quote I use a lot, which was a Nazi concentration camp survivor. And he has a quote that says, in between stimulus and response, there is a space for us to, in that space is our power to respond. So again, your power is in your response. And you want your response to be strong. You want to stand up and face this with strength, not weakness where you back down and this runs you over, this pain condition. Because what happens is people get bowled over, run over by this, like a bully. Your pain's like a bully. And a lot of people with chronic pain and chronic illness are very nice people pleasers, goodists. They don't stand up for themselves so much. They don't express their anger constructively, set boundaries very well, and they get taken advantage of. And so this pain is controlling people. It's a sense of like a bully. The pain is bullying you. And we need to learn to stand up to it. I believe this whole process of healing from chronic pain and chronic illness is about learning to stand up and be stronger and become empowered in our lives. And when we can do that, we are becoming a stronger person. Okay, and we can handle adversity and pains, and we can deal with people better and situations better, so that we don't get all this stuff going in our bodies, the stress chemicals that create these problems. Okay, so it's about moving up this autonomic nervous system scale, you can call it. The worst one being frozen. You're immobile, you're frozen. People say I'm paralyzed to me. They say I'm stuck. I hear that a lot. That means you're frozen. Now, a lot of people are in the next one up, which is the flight, and they're avoiding everything. They're scared. They're anxious. They're worried. They're fearful. They're stuck in that position. And so they're not going to move forward. If you're fearful, you're going to move the other direction. You're going to get the hell out of here. You're not going to confront this. Okay, so we need to get out of that. So what do? We move up to the next emotion, which is the fight response, anger. Remember, anger is actually better than fear for you physiologically. It's been proven. I'd rather you be angry than scared. So for some people, I say, look, get angry that you have this condition. Tap into that energy versus being scared. And I want you to take this anger and not stop with fighting, okay? Because people, what they do with anger now, a lot of people, chronic illness, chronic diseases, they put the anger back on themselves in a destructive way. Self-blame, they become self-critical. They blame themselves, they beat themselves up, they punch themselves in the face. That's where their anger goes, back into themselves. So that pushes us further down. That's not constructive anger, that's destructive anger. Or we lash out at people, we blow up. Okay, we hold things in and then we blow up. That's also destructive anger. What I'm talking about is constructive anger, where you take this energy that you're fed up and you're tired of your disease, you're tired of your illness, and you say no more. And you can channel that into a message that's generated from your prefrontal cortex to respond to this unruly limbic brain who's trying to control you. Okay, and you need to talk with conviction and authority. Dr. Sarno said that. Talk to your brain. Tell it you won't take it anymore. That's not saying, hey, brain, can you please stop this? I'm really scared. No. You're not scared anymore. You, brain, listen to me. Stop. I'm in control here. Now, the prefrontal cortex is known as the CEO in your brain. This is your logical, rational thinking, perceptive mind that communicates with other parts of your brain. Are you the CEO? Are you being run by your employees? Are you in control, or is the pain in control? Okay, so a lot of this work is about getting stronger. It's about empowerment. It's about facing fears. It's about facing emotions. It's about facing the pain, facing adversity, standing up and facing activities, doing these things again so you're not avoiding them. Okay, so it's quite fascinating to me. It's unbelievable when you think about it this way biologically, and it has this, it's the same flavor or same thing we need to do with pain. Okay, to overcome chronic pain, chronic illness, is we got to move up the scale to where you're not backing down anymore. Your message to your brain needs to be strong to limbic brain because you have to regulate that brain. That brain's working 24/7. It's working off your past, working off trauma, it's working off everything that's happened to you in your life. It's not going to stop unless you stop it. You have to regulate that part of your brain through your cortex. This is your power lies in your response. I've talked about this before. The only power you have is in your response. Your limbic brain is too fast. It's going to act first. You need to respond. So what is your response? It needs to be strong, powerful, definitive. You're not backing down. Okay, this is how people get better. They face these things because with TMS, there's nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong in your body. It's all in your brain. It's this limbic brain. So our job is to regulate it. Now, the studies also show, again, there's a study out of Stanford. I always talk about this one, that with anxiety, people who are really anxious, which is again fear, people stuck in fear, is that they're having strong one-way signals from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex. Like it's just going this way, boom, 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 boom. And what they found in brain scans is there's not any signal or very little signal going back from the cortex to the amygdala to regulate it, to keep it under control. Again, so your amygdala is hijacking you. It's called amygdala hijack. The amygdala is controlling you. Do you want to be controlled? Do you want to let the pain control you? Okay, so the studies are backing up what Sarno said, what makes sense when you think about the nervous system. The study said, the authors from the Stanford study said, look, we need the signaling to be going back strongly. They use that word strongly again, from your cortex to your amygdala to regulate that part of your brain. Okay, so this is your strength. This is your ability to withstand, face, tolerate, handle all these words. Pain, symptoms, emotions, okay, all these things. It's that deeper level, which is your cortex, okay? It's not the first level of pain, anxiety, emotions, okay? That's generated by your limbic brain first. That's called the first level reaction. Can't stop it. Don't worry about it. Next thing you got to understand is, what's your response? Do you agree with that, or are you scared of that? If you're scared of that, you're stuck in the flight mode, you're going to avoid, or you're going to move to the frozen mode again. So those two things we don't want to do. Again, we're moving up the scale. Fight. Okay, I'm sick and tired of this thing. All right, I'm not going to be destructive anymore, but I'm going to be constructive. What do you want to tell your brain? I ask people this question. It's so simple. Do you want to have your pain? Do you want to have your illness? No. Everybody says, no, of course not. Well, then tell your brain that. No, brain, stop it. That is a real communication from your prefrontal cortex to your amygdala. That's a real signal that you're now consciously generating. And what the studies have shown is that you have to generate this signal consciously and consistently, because it's not doing it automatically. We know with people with chronic pain, there's prefrontal cortex deactivation. It's not working naturally. It's not able to regulate and cause what's called descending inhibition or pain inhibitions. It does that in normal people with acute pain. That's why the pain goes away. But in chronic pain, that part of the brain, the cortex, isn't doing it. It's not naturally doing its job. So we have to start doing it manually. We have to flip the switch ourselves. It's not coming on its own. And we have to do this a lot. Okay, so this is you again getting stronger. You standing up and facing your fears, facing your pain, and moving forward. So anger gives you the energy. It's a mobilizing energy to move forward in a constructive way to create change. All the greatest change in the world has come from people who felt injustice. There was injustice done. They felt taken advantage of. They felt something wasn't right, and they used anger to create change. That's constructive anger. Otherwise, things aren't going to change. Sorry to tell you guys, things are not going to change if you're stuck in fear. Again, you need to get out of that emotion. It's not as healthy as anger. We don't want to be stuck in anger either, but we use anger as a springboard to move forward, where fear is going to make you move backwards. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful. I kind of went on for a while today, but I feel like this is so fascinating. One thing, it's really interesting. And it's really powerful when you understand this, that this is what's happening and you have the power to change it. And the power lies in your response. You have the power to change this. And Dr. Sarno says that too. You have the power to overcome this. Look at Healing Back Pain. Dr. Sarno's 3 do's and don'ts in the beginning of the book. It's exactly what I'm talking about here. All right, guys. Reach out with questions, concerns. If you need help with this, this is what I help people do to overcome their pain. Overcome it, right? That's a position of strength. You are overcoming this stuff. And you can do it. You have the power to do it. All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye.